How's it going, guys? There's this movie out called Spring, and it's directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who actually did a film called Resolution, which I would also highly recommend. This is their newest film called Spring, and yeah, this is a very unique kind of movie. It's definitely one of those movies where, you don't exactly know what you're getting into, when you watch it, and it turns out to be something like, that you didn't really expect, and it's one of those movies. To basically just sum up the plot, the film is about a man named Evan, and Evan is, having some troubles, back in the US. His mother just died, and the police are looking after him. He's not having a very good life back in the US, so he decides to move to Italy. And in Italy, he meets this wonderful girl named Louise. And, him and Louise, they at first seem like, they're the perfect couple, the movie's just about them and how they're, just in this such great relationship together, and, yeah, but, of course, it's, somewhat of a horror movie, so there's somewhat of a twist to it. Not really gonna spoil to you what it is, but basically there's something, there's a very dark secret with Louise. There's something kind of wrong with her, and that's all I'm gonna say. Just watch the movie for yourself. And like I was saying, Spring is a very unique kind of movie. I guess the best way to describe it is that it's a romantic comedy with a horror twist to it. That's honestly what it is. It's not even like the slightest, a flat-out horror film. It's not what it is at all. That's kind of what you expect going into it, but that's not what it is at all. And, it kind of tricks you into thinking that's what it is, but it's not. It's actually kind of a lighthearted movie, It has a very lighthearted tone to it, There's just some about it that seems like it's, a romance, essentially, but there's also a horror twist to it, There's something in a movie that's wrong, or, that's strange, and, yeah, that's basically the best way to describe this movie. It's a romance with a horror twist to it, and you know what? That's okay, because this is a very good movie. It's very well made, and yeah, it's a great film. I wouldn't recommend this movie to everybody, though, especially if you're like a die-hard horror fan. You're probably not gonna like this movie. Who knows? It's definitely, like I said, not a flat-out horror film at all. If you go into it expecting just a flat-out horror film, you might be a little bit disappointed. But then again, I went into it, thinking it would be a horror film, and, I actually turned out to actually kind of like it. So who knows? Maybe I'll like it too. I don't know. But yeah, it's a very different movie. It's very kind of unique, and in a way, it reminded me of a Swedish horror film called Let the Right One In. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that film. It's a great, great film, about this little boy who falls in love with this girl who turns out to be a vampire. And, it's kind of like the same deal with this movie, except, I'm not going to spoil, what's wrong with this girl, but, there's something, like I said, that is wrong, and that's, what kind of makes it a romance with, a horror twist to it. But this is a very well-directed film. There is some, like, little nitpicks I have with it. One of the things is the cinematography. The movie looked fine, except there was something about it that just seemed, I don't know, a little bit off, there's something about it that just seemed a little bit off to me. There was something about the cinematography in this film that just seemed very bland. Like, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but it was just meh, it was whatever. But, it definitely is not as good, as the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie's pretty great. And the movie does a great job at setting up this relationship, between Evan and Louise. You actually, do really care about these characters. It's just, you want the relationship, to work. It does a great job at building character development and the relationship between these two characters. And like I said before, the movie has a very lighthearted tone to it. That's definitely something that does not make it a horror film at all. It's very lighthearted, it, like, kind of in a sense of a romantic comedy, honestly. Like, just like I said, it's kind of a romance with a horror twist to it. That's the best way to describe this movie, but yeah, there's something about the tone that just seems very lighthearted. It's kind of, in some parts, a little bit funny, a little bit humorous, and, it kind of likes to have fun, It's a pretty, fun movie to watch. It's very entertaining, it's not one of those movies where you're watching and you're like, ooh, I don't like that, that's spooky. But yeah, guys, overall, Spring, whether you love it or hate it, it's a very unique film, There's definitely something about it that just, it's very unique, you haven't really seen something like this before, which you gotta give it props for. There's probably gonna be some people, like I said, out there who will not like this film, and I completely understand why they would not like this film. This movie's not for everybody, but I give her props for trying something new, and it's does a very good job of doing that, and it does, you know, a very good job, like I said, at building, you know, character development, and it's very well made as well, and it's such a really good movie, and overall, I'd probably give the film a 3.5 out of 5. I would recommend this movie to you, but like I said, just some of you may not like it. Don't go into the movie expecting a flat-out horror film, because that's not really what it is, but I think, you know, if you go into it knowing that, then you'll probably like it a little bit more than what you expect, so yeah, definitely check it out if you have not yet. Shout out time! So yeah, there's this YouTube channel that you guys need to be checking out, and it's called Spooky Astronauts. It is this girl's Emma's channel, and basically what she does is she does movie reviews, she does, you know, all sorts of cool horror stuff, you know, she just loves to talk about horror, and to me, that's awesome, and I really enjoy watching her videos, and she actually just gave me a shout out in one of her videos, which is really cool. I was her favorite YouTuber of the month. Oh, I'm blushing. But no, in all honesty, I really did appreciate that shout out, so I decided to return the favor and give her a shout out. So Emma, if you're watching this, keep up the great work. I love your channel. And yeah, guys, definitely check out her channel, especially if you love horror stuff. You know, it's a great channel to go and, you know, just talk about horror. You know, she's very outgoing. She's always replying back to her comments. She loves to talk to her fans. So yeah, just, you know, go on that channel and have a good time. It's a great channel. But yeah, so check out Emma's channel, Spooky Astronauts, and also check out Spring. I know she actually did review this movie as well, so check out her review for this movie too. But yeah, so that's about it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am Jacob Palacio, and I will see you guys later.